everyone, and welcome back. Today I have what I'm going to call an initial observation, an initial review of a new pistol that I picked up. I call it initial because I've only put around 1,000 rounds through it, so I really haven't shot it extensively, but I thought it was so cool that I wanted to share it with you guys. As you know, I shoot the Beretta M9-22 a lot, and I've been looking for a 22 trainer for the longest time. I experimented with a Chiappa, and just a horrible gun, horrible experience altogether. If you're not familiar with that and my whole debacle with that whole thing, I'll put a link to that here, and then in the video description below you can see that. But if you're thinking about buying a Chiappa M9 clone, don't do it, or at least look at my experience first before you make that decision. Recently I discovered that Beretta just came out, or has come out recently, with the M9-22, and I thought, all right, yeah, another clone, and I started looking into it, and the operation of it is so close to the actual M9 or the 92F that I use, that I had to pick it up and try it out for myself. Here is my 92F. This is not an FS, this is an F. I picked this up back in 1989, and this is what I use for production in USPSA. But this thing has served me very well, and now with the added addition to this to my collection, if you will, I think I have something a little bit nicer, more economical to train with. But enough for the BS, let's get down to the brass tacks of everything. I picked this off of Buds for about $400, a little less than 400 bucks, I believe. And it came with one magazine. It was a 15-round magazine. Yes, 15 rounds for a 22. Now, if you follow me elsewhere, you know I make some parts for the 22 and offer magazine upgrades and such to get more than 10 rounds. Here's our 15-round magazine. They also sell a 10-round magazine, and I haven't been able to find aftermarket 15-round mags yet, or rather factory 15-round mags for sale. I can only find 10 rounds. There is a spacer in the bottom that keeps you from loading 10 rounds. The magazine base pad here is quite complex compared to most others, and it's glued on the 10 rounds, at least on my models that I picked up. If you're interested in seeing how to take that apart and upgrade it to a 15-round magazine, I'll put a link to that video here. But anyways, back to the video itself. 15-round mags, really cool. This is the little device here that locks open the last shot fired, so it's going to work the slide lock for you. So if you remove that, it's not going to work anymore. But going to the gun, if you're familiar with a 92F, or let's just call it the M9, this is the M9-22. I believe Beretta makes two other models, the M9A1 or something like that. One of them has a rail, and I think one of them may actually have a threaded barrel, but I could only find this particular model at the time I bought this. To be honest, I would like to have one with a threaded barrel, but to run a suppressor on it, but I don't have that option right now. But this one is just like the one I use for competition. It comes apart just like any other 92F. You push the button on the side right here, and while pushing that, you flip this lever right here, and the slide kind of bounces forward, and then you can pull the slide right off. Now, remember I said I only shot around 1,000 rounds through this? I shot it right out of the box with no oil. This gun had no oil on it when I got it, and I shot it just like it was, and it ran flawlessly. It's a little dirty. I ran some Remington Golden Bullet in there, and that stuff is really filthy, so it kind of dirtied up the inside. But going to the slide here, it's a captured guide rod system. Here it is right here. You can take it apart by pulling this little spring right here on the end, and then there's two little pieces that pop off of the guide rod. They come loose, and then the spring will come off the guide rod itself. I found the recoil of this much more pleasant than my Colt 1911-22 and the GSG 1911-22. I'm not quite sure what it is. Yeah, I do have a thing for this particular model of gun. However, this gun here just recoiled so much nicer. I'm not quite sure what it was, and there's minimal recoil to a 22 anyway, but it just felt much more nicer. The barrel comes out just like the regular one, So here we have the barrel. It doesn't look like it'd be too awful to take these two screws out potentially and put on a threaded barrel later on down the road if you wanted to. The weight of this is slightly less than the 9mm version that I have, and most of the weight tends to be in the frame itself, which was kind of surprising because it is a polymer frame, and the aluminum frame that I shoot for the 9mm one, it weighs a little bit less than this setup right here, but the 9mm has more weight on the slide portion here, so this is just a little bit less, but it weighs a few ounces less than the 92, the 9mm version that I have. Looking at the controls in here, the parts look very, very similar to the regular 92F, but I don't think they're going to be interchangeable, at least not many, if any. But to be honest with you, I've found this gun so nice the way it is. I really can't see much of an improvement as far as changing stuff out. Some people like to replace the hammer spring back here by popping out the lanyard loop and putting like a 92D, I think it is. It's a lighter spring into the 92 series here, and it gives you a lighter trigger pull, but I looked at the spring in there and it's quite a pain in the rear to get out and put back in. Plus the spring seems to be a little bit different from the other one, so I don't think you can actually switch that spring out. But you know, for the trigger pull, it's not too bad. Double action's a little heavy, single action's much, much nicer. Putting this thing together, well, let's go back to this. It is an ambidextrous magazine release, so if you decide you want to switch it around, shoot left-handed, you can do that. It looks like there's a spring straight down in there. It's a straight spring. Kind of see some light point shining on it right in there, like a straight line. You have to pop that out of its position, then the magazine release will come out and you can put it on the other side and pop that spring back into place. I fiddled with it a little bit. It seemed a little bit more trouble than it's worth for me anyway, because just to experiment. But it is doable from what I can tell. If you just want to switch that out, it can be a little cumbersome because you're basically trying to move that straight spring, which is probably 1.5 inches long, out of the way, and it's providing the tension. Let me push on the magazine release and you'll see that spring move. I mean, it looks like a straight line here in the video, but it's basically a spring. The magazine down here, it has what I would like to call a built-in mag well. This gives it the same grip width as the full-size 92, but it also provides more of a guide for feeding your magazines. Most 22s, it's pretty much straight in, straight out. This actually has a beveled edge right here, so it makes putting the magazines in so much easier and so more fluid. So I found that to be a nice addition too. I don't know if they are meant to do that when they did it, but it seems to be working pretty nice for me. I like that setup. So let's put this thing back together real quick. We'll take our barrel, put it back in, and our guide rod, the little capture area up here, is going to go at the front, and then we're just going to put it and rest it on that shelf right there. Then we're going to put this on the front. Unlike the real 92, I can just push the slide back like this and flip the lever. This one here, the barrel doesn't come back, so what I've found to do to get this closed is to put your finger on the barrel and push it back, but I've just been taking my hand and putting it like so. That straightens it up back here, and at that point then you can flip the switch and that locks it back in place. Like I said, the controls are just like the 92. We take the decocker, it's now in the safe position, and then you can flick it up right there, and the first shot is double action to where it shoots. There is a loaded chamber indicator here at the top, and when you do flip it to safety, there's our firing pin right there. When you flip the decocker down, it puts a block in front. So let me pull that back. So it basically puts a block right in front of that. Let me roll it out of the way so you can see. So it blocks the firing pin. When I shoot USPSA in this gun, I put it on like so, and then holster it with a live one, and then when I draw it, I flick that up, and my first shot's always double action. So if you're ever watching my 92 videos where I'm shooting it in competition, that's how I'm doing it. My personal grip on this type of gun, sometime I catch that slide lock right there, so my gun sometimes will not lock back on last shot fired, but that's basically because my fingers are getting in the way. So if I put any video footage here and you see the slide not locking back, that's what's going on. Going to shooting, I've shot lots of ammo through this, an array of ammo. I had one misfire, and the cool thing about this is, since it is double action, once that hammer falls, you can pull the trigger again, and it'll try to detonate that round one more time. So if it is a true dud or light strike, you can get another shot off on it. I really like that with the 22. It did not like the quiet CCI ammo, but then again, I have not had that ammo cycle anything. It works best in a lever action 22 or a bolt action 22. As mentioned, the frame is a polymer, and the slide is aluminum, and the barrel is steel, so that's where we're getting a lot of weight right here. As mentioned, I'm not quite sure what the weight is in here. Perhaps they have some weights or something inside the gun, but the frame is a little bit more heftier than the aluminum frame 9mm that I have. The grips are interchangeable, which is a nice thing. I mean, I tried to put Beretta grips on the Chiappa, and they just would not fit. But these are not the grips that came with the gun. And the reason is, on the right-hand side, there's a spring that works the lever right here. And the spring on this one is a little bit different from the regular one. And what it does is it's poking out a little bit more into the grip, and the plastic itself is a little bit cheaper on this gun, and what it did to me was it pushed the grip out a little bit more. So it kind of gave you the feel of a squishy grip in a way. I deem that to the plastic of the grips, because I took some aftermarket grips and I put them on in their place, and that took care of the problem. And so now that's what this gun is sporting. It's sporting some aftermarket grips. Aside from the grips being interchangeable, the screws themselves appear to not be interchangeable. So if you're thinking about buying some aftermarket screws to kind of bling up your pistol a little bit, stock 92 screws for me did not fit, so I'm pretty much guessing that it's not going to fit for you as well. It's a whole different size altogether. The sights on the gun you can replace. In fact, it comes with two front sights, and this is the shorter of the two. Mine came with the taller one installed. I went ahead and put the shorter one because I was shooting way low, and I put this one on here. It brought it up a little bit, but not enough. I went out and looked at some aftermarket 92 series front sights that you could replace with a dovetail, and they did not fit. So this, from my experience so far, could be a proprietary dovetail cut. So I don't think you can find an aftermarket front sight for this just yet. So at the moment, this gun does shoot a little low for me. The rear sight has a set screw right here. You can pop that out and drift it left or right, and then take it out altogether. I'm probably going to order an adjustable rear sight like I put on this, because I had the exact same problem with this gun when I first bought it years ago. It just did not shoot accurately for me, and I couldn't get the elevation correct. This gun's so old it doesn't have a dovetail in the front, so I can't do anything about the front sight on this one. So on the trigger pull on this, I mentioned the double action was a little heavy. Let's lock it open. We'll put a snap cap in here, and in the single action we'll use our trigger scale so you can see that. There we go. I get about 5 pounds. Like I said, it's very close to my 9mm version as far as the single action goes. And you always want to do that a couple of times, make sure you had it in the correct spot. So about 5 pounds. Double action, that's a little bit more beefier. Let's see what it gets to. There's 5 already. Come on, come on. There. Oh, it's off the scale. It's off my scale anyway. So it's brutal. I'm not going to lie to you on double action. My 9mm version is so much lighter on the double action portion of that. However, I have cut the hammer spring down a little bit in it to lighten that pull. Well, there's my initial review of the M9-22. I'm sorry it went a little long, but as always, thanks for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the video.